Isabella is in Panama. That sounds amazing right now. I can see in your background that it's beautiful. Hello, Michelle. Let's see here. I will keep an eye on the weight room, but I will get us started. So, thank you guys for coming to this webinar. I'm so ecstatic to have you guys here and to be able to see your faces because I don't normally get to see faces when I am training and talking to you guys. So I'm super excited about that. And I will give kind of just a brief background of who I am and why I'm talking about this, just for those who may not know me as well. My name is Corey A. Russin, and I'm a transformational coach. And my focus is really on empowering women to own their self worth so that they can step into their purpose and to really own that purpose so that they can monetize their innate gifts. And so I want to make sure too that you guys, is it better in speaker view or gallery view? Let's see. Let's do speaker view. So let's see. There we go. But essentially, that's my main role. I'm a transformational coach, and I am also a PhD student in a program called Community Research and Action. And I was admitting Diana, but I essentially research purpose in life, and I look at how do we develop purpose? Why is purpose important in our lives, and how do we use purpose as a tool? And for those of you who are in the Concept to Career Facebook group and have gone through that training, I talk a lot about how do we actually utilize purpose. But the thing is, if you don't know, if you can't own your self-worth, if you don't feel worthy of moving in the direction of what you were born here to do, it doesn't matter, because you won't be able to take those steps forward and to move past fear in order to align with what you're meant to be doing. And so I'll give you a brief background to why I am here doing this, and like why me? Why am I even qualified to talk about this? And really, my personal development journey, my journey started 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I went through yoga teacher training, and I learned a lot of tools. I unveiled a lot of patterns within my life that I was cycling back through and learning. I was learning how these patterns were showing up, the actions I was taking as a result of these patterns. And I also just really started to have confidence in myself and to believe in myself. And things were going so well. And then in 2016, yeah, 2016, I met somebody and started dating them, and everything went down the toilet. Everything I had learned, everything that I had found to be beneficial for my journey just tanked. And I lost who I was. I felt like I had no direction. I didn't know what my next steps were. I didn't know. I listened to this person this whole time telling me all of these things that I didn't realize were just lies. They were lies about me, and I was believing them as if they were true. And so it took me a year to get out of that spiral and to realize that I was worth more than what I was being told. And when I left, it didn't end there. I didn't magically become like, oh, I'm back to my confident self. I had to relearn who I was and relearn how to believe that I was worthy of more than what I had been told I was. And through that, I realized how negative chronic stress is and how negative. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease a year later. And through all of these trials was realizing there's something that is not adding up here. There's something that is holding me back. And it was that I didn't feel worthy of stepping into really who I was, and I felt like my worth had just plummeted completely. And it wasn't until I had bought into a company to help my autoimmune disease that I realized that, oh, I've actually not been doing any work on myself since I did my yoga teacher training. The biggest thing that I did was leave that relationship, but I wasn't working on who I was or learning who I was or building up my own feelings of worthiness related to who I was. And so this business then helped me pivot and realize that I was actually worth far more than this. I had created this dream of working in academics or working at a university, and I realized that actually didn't align with who I was at all. I started doing all this work and uncovering all of this and realized that that didn't align with me. And then I started to work with other women. And I was hearing the same story as me over and over and over again of feeling lost, feeling disconnected from who they are, and then realizing that what they were doing with their lives wasn't in alignment with what they wanted for their future. And so I realized that I was really a self-worth coach, that I was really somebody who was helping people to see that they were worthy of more than what they were giving themselves credit for. And so I started to go into like, okay, how did I get here? Like, how did I start to become confident and knowing that I deserved more, knowing that I was meant for more, which is like what I use all the time. I say it all the time, you're meant for more. So this was the journey that I went on. And so now I'm using the tools that I developed over that period to then start to coach others. And I realized like how important self-worth is. Like, it wasn't until recently that I realized that that was the key to everything. Because without self-worth, self-worth is the feeling that you deserve what you desire. It's the willingness to walk away from things that don't serve you and that make you feel like you are less than, or they just make you feel bad and like you're doing something wrong with your life. And that's jobs, that's people, that's situations, that's environments. It's staying in an apartment that you feel awful in because you feel that that's all that you deserve and that's all that you can get. It shows up in all areas of our lives. And Carly put up the clapping hands. But in order to be willing to take the risk to go after what you want, you have to feel like you deserve that. And you have to feel like you're worthy of making that decision. And so that's why I see self-worth as the key element. You need to be able to have that self-worth in order to see the light that is that's inside of you. And you need to be able to see the gifts that you can give. And if you don't feel worthy of stepping out and taking the risk on yourself, you aren't able to give that gift to the world. And each one of us was born with an innate gift and some sort of medicine to give to the world and to make an impact on the world. And so let me know if that resonates with you or what your thoughts are on that. I'm trying to make this as interactive as possible, and I want your feedback because I want to hear from you guys. But I think that's one of the biggest things is, as a system, as a society, we're taught to play it safe. And we're taught that you're not allowed to go outside of yourself because that will lead to you losing that sense of security. And so we're taught to live for security, not to live for our dreams and our goals. And so it's so important to take a moment and understand where that patterning comes from and where that really, Lauren says, I relate 100%. I'm so glad, Lauren, because like that's the thing is we're trained to believe this one thing, and it's because people want us to go out and build their dreams, and we're taught in schools how to survive at a job so that we can keep going on this hamster wheel, and we're taught that we're literally programmed to believe that we're not worthy of things so people can sell us things. And that might sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. That's basic marketing. We're taught that something about us isn't worth what other people deem it to be, and so then they sell us things to try and fix that. And that's what's messed up. So it's really about building that so we don't feel that need for anything outside of ourselves. Isabella said, me too, getting stuck in situations that don't work for me. 100%. Like, I'm guilty of that wholly. Michelle says, yes, this is resonating a lot with me. I've recently become aware of how my self-worth is tied to my reality and how much it is impacting my current situation. And that's so important, Michelle, because it's stupid to say, like, or it's not stupid, but it's so oversaid, like, that realizing it is the first step. But it is, like, it's so hard to realize that. It took 5 years for me to get to the point where I'm like, oh, the entire work I've been doing is self-worth work. And that's like the key to everything. Michelle says, definitely agree. No way is that a conspiracy theory. It's not. It's like basic marketing. It's what people get taught, which is crazy. And Lauren says, what's challenging is being in a job where my self-worth is compromised and it has a ripple effect in trying to create a business. Absolutely. Because it is our environment. It's our environment around us that does impact us. But there are ways to create that boundary so that if you're not able to leave that job yet, that you can still create that sense of worthiness within yourself. But it is noticing the patterns that create that within yourself as well. Megan says, I resonate with this so much. Good, Megan. I'm glad it's resonating. But that is like, self-worth is that motor. It's the motor behind like giving you the confidence to go after what you want. And really opening it up, like, this is what I want to really put out, is that you're special, you're supported, you are loved, and you have a very unique gift to give to this world, even if it seems like when you're starting out that things are similar to other people. There's no one who has lived the experiences that you have lived, no one that has done things in the exact way that you have, and nobody who will do things the way that you have. And so you have a unique way of being able to provide support for other people. So that's key. I want to focus on that first. And what's also really important, clicked a button. What's also really important is to know I'm going to talk about blocks in this, but I want you to understand that when I speak about blocks, it's not that you're blocked from getting intuition or blocked from moving forward, and you're not stuck. You can move forward at any point, but there are patterns that have cycled in your life. I mean, I've been alive 27 years. There are patterns that I've had for 26 years of my life that I constantly have to remind myself exist. And that's the point of this call, is to unveil what those patterns are so that you're aware of them. And that doesn't mean that they won't ever show up again in your life. They will. But noticing that they're happening makes it easier every single time to be able to pivot and to start to make new patterns and new decisions. So I wanted to give that foundation first so that you know that these patterns are going to keep coming up, but there are ways of there. Oh, I had to admit one more person. Hello, Alyssa. But what I wanted to just focus on is that this is all about awareness and creating an awareness of the patterns that you've been living out and not eliminating them, because they won't just immediately go away. super, super key before we dive into anything more. But hi, Alyssa, it's so good to see your face. So you came just in time because I want to lead you guys through the visualization. And I'm diving right into it because I want to have time with you guys to talk through what comes up for you when you're doing this visualization. It's something that I'm not doing the exact visualization that I've done before. I've really focused this in on you guys and how to best serve you all. So I want to start off with something called a line activation. And so a line activation, if you think about, I don't know if how many of you are familiar with the chakras, you can let me know, but you think about the chakra system, you have this line of energy that is connecting you both to basically the higher realm and then also to the earth, because we're human beings. We have a soul, it's connected higher and it's outside of us, but then we also are humans and we are connected to the earth. And so your messages, your intuition flow through this line within you. And so that's how you gain access to your intuition. There's ways to activate that line. And so this will be a little bit different than some of other meditations or guided visualizations you might have gone through. But I wanted to start with this. Before I do that, I wanted to just touch on the comments. Michelle said, love that. My journey is uniquely my own. And Lauren says, my patterns of lack of self-worth show in my lack of sales. No amount of skill set can replace the missing mindset piece. Yes. Yes, 100%. Like, if you don't, you are your first sale, first and foremost. And especially if you're an entrepreneur right now and you're moving forward in your business, you're just getting started, it's really important to build your self-worth first, because that's going to be what gives you that feeling of confidence in helping others. If you haven't invested in yourself, or you haven't really made that first sale to you and shown yourself that you're worthy and deserving of what you want in your life, there's no window for it to flow in through. You have to make that space from all the patterning and the junk that you've held on to. That has to be wiped away by building your self-worth. So 1000%. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a visual of what a line activation looks like, so you can do it with me. Your eyes are going to be closed when you do it, but I'll talk you through it. So you're going to take your hands, take them to your heart, and then what we'll be doing is I'll have you bring your hands above your head. And then what it will look like is you'll be bringing your hands down, basically until you hit your belly button, and they'll open up. They'll basically like open up like this, almost like you're pushing down to the ground. And then you'll bring your hands back up. We'll go through that 4 times, and then that will lead like right into the guided visualization. But what I'm gonna have you guys do is close your eyes, bring your hands to your heart center, and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take your hands up above your head. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. And as you're taking your next deep breath in for the count of 6, you're going to take your hands in front of you just like I showed you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. Back up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then back down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back down one more time for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. And just take a moment to sit in this energy, feel the energy moving almost right up through your spine. Like you have a big white ball of light, a line flowing up through your crown of your head and out through your tailbone. Take a deep breath in and out. Then bring your hands to your lap, palms facing up towards the sky. And take one more deep breath in and out. I want you to imagine that you're walking down a staircase. And at the end of that staircase, you open the door and you see a field. It's your favorite place in nature, wherever that is. I want you to just imagine yourself there walking around, looking up, maybe at the sky, maybe at mountains, maybe at the ocean. Listen to the sounds. And just be there for a moment. And then looking out into the distance, you see just a smaller person. Maybe it's a child. You start walking over to them. And as you get closer, you start to realize that it's you. It's you as your younger self. Right about the time you first can remember your first memories, however young you were. And as you get closer, you can see them smiling at you and excited to see you as your grown self right now. And you start running over to them and they open up their arms. You give them a huge hug. And you feel the energy there as you're connecting with your younger self. And as you break your embrace, they look up at you and they take you by the hand and they let you know that they have some things to show you. And they ask you to go back to the very first time where you felt like your self-worth was questioned, where someone else made you feel less than wholly perfect. They made you feel less than whole. And your younger self is squeezing onto your hand and showing you this memory. Just feel the feelings that come up. Take note of the emotions that you're feeling, what's being said, what isn't being said. Take note of who's around you, who's speaking to you, what they're doing. And just be the observer of this happening to your younger self. And as this memory starts to fade, you look back at the younger you holding onto your hand, and you tell them that they're safe now, that it's okay to let go of that memory, to acknowledge what came up, not to erase it, but to let go. You hug your younger self again and thank them for showing you what you needed to be shown. And they remind you that at any point in time, you can come back here, you can ask them questions, or you can tell them things that they need to hear to soothe your younger self, to let them know that they're safe. You let go of your younger self's hand, and they turn around and walk off into your favorite place in nature, slowly fading. And you turn back around, facing away from where they just vanished. And you slowly start to disappear yourself, coming back into your body, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, and slowly fluttering your eyes open. See everybody's eyes, just like it. Well, I want you guys to take a moment with what just came up for you in that visualization and think about the emotions that came up. Thank you, Megan. I'm glad that that was helpful. I want you guys to just take a moment, and if you have a journal in front of you, I encourage you to just grab it real quick and write down, I am blank and I am not blank. Or just have that in your head. And think about the emotions that came up as you were experiencing that memory. How are you feeling? And I'll give you an example. So, when I've done this in the past, I had a memory come up where I was 5 years old and I was in my kindergarten classroom. And I had a half day kindergarten class, so I spent half of my days with my grandmother. And when I went into my kindergarten class, I accidentally called my kindergarten teacher grandma, and she said, I am not your grandmother. And from that, in from this visualization, from doing some of this work, I realized that the emotions that were coming up and the patterning that I had was that I am wrong, I am not smart. And those are the things that have come up for me over and over and over again. And so I want you to take a moment and fill in the blank of what is that patterning? What is that, those emotions that come up for you? And you're either, what I found, either trying to prove them right, maybe not consciously, but you're trying to prove that patterning right, or prove it wrong. So just think for a moment with that memory, whatever came up, what was it? What are those emotions? What are those feelings that your younger self had? And I'll give you guys just a moment to think about what those are. And is there anyone who wants to share their experience with that visualization? Feel free to unmute yourself. You don't have to just talk in the comments.
I'll share if you want.
Thanks, Diana.
You're welcome. So for me, do you want to like to talk a little bit of like what showed up for me or like what?
Yeah, talk a little bit about what showed up for you and what you kind of
Sorry, it's like super
need
dark
now.
in
No
here.
problem.
Okay. So what came up for me was that I found myself as well, like in kindergarten, like in pre-K. I was in a playground and basically, I guess I was being bullied by kids. Um, they were telling me that I was ugly and stuff like that. And that's a memory that has been like very vivid in my mind. So it's interesting that also came up in this visualization. And these were kids that I guess they were just bullying me and telling me all this stuff. And I guess the feelings that came up, it was kind of like that I'm not enough, or I guess internalizing that. And for a long time, I mean, I've been working through that over the years, of course, but for a long time, especially during my elementary year schools, like it was really hard, and I never felt that, like that self-confidence, I guess, if you would say, just because of that. Um, but I've worked through that confidence and doing that. But the one thing is, I guess, that keep on feeling like not enough, um, or not liked enough and stuff like that. So it was interesting that that came up when I have worked on a part, but not on the other part. So.
Mhm. I think that's so common too, is that theme of like I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough, or I'm it's come up so many times when I work with clients of like this patterning of I'm not enough. And that's what happens so many if you're starting as an entrepreneur or you're even just jumping into something that's new and taking a risk. That patterning is so powerful because it's literally telling you that you don't have what it takes to get to where you want to be. And so if that keeps coming up for you, it's so important to have the tools to neutralize that and to turn it into I am enough. And to continuously, I mean, that patterning is, I mean, we're around the same age, so 21 years or however long. So like 21 years of that patterning has to be undone. So it requires a lot of tools to do that. So thank you for sharing, Diana.
You're welcome, of course.
Does anybody else want to share their experience?
I'll jump on and share. Danica gave me courage to do it. Oh, sorry, Diana, not Danica. Sorry. So I'm dyslexic. It's not an issue now as an adult in their 20s. But when I was diagnosed with it in elementary school, the entire education system. So I grew up in Washington, D.C. I grew up in one of the supposedly the best counties ever to go to school. Don't really know if that's true or not. But point being is the education system failed me. And so when I found out that I was dyslexic, I was told by staff, by teachers, not my parents, but by staff and by teachers that I was never smart enough. I was never going to achieve anything. I could never go anywhere in life. I might as well just like go work in retail or restaurants, and like that was it. So like the same thing that Diana was feeling, like not good enough, not smart enough, and being told that, like just imagine being told that like all the time by my classmates, by my teachers, not by my parents because they're awesome, um but like by like teachers aren't supposed to do that. I'm a teacher, and like I teach English as a second language to kids, and when kids apologize to me for mispronouncing stuff, I get upset for them. I'm like, no, you don't do that, because I was told like just yeah. So it was tricky, and just being told I was never enough all the time and being bullied in school for it, which just sounds so stupid, but kids will bully over everything. So
And how do you think that patterning has been showing up even now?
oh, just like what Diana said, the lack of confidence. So like I buried my, which is the ironic part, is I am dyslexic and I couldn't read. So just like you said, Corey, you do it to prove other people wrong. So guess what I do nonstop? I read. It's like my favorite pastime. I have a Kindle and I like it. The wish list is just, I have like over 40 books and I think I read like 2 of them. So it's bad. But the problem, like, just like you said, like you wanted to prove people wrong. So I proved them wrong by overcoming it, but it's still that whole, like I was told for almost, let's say at least 18 years of my life that I was never going to be good enough and I could never be a teacher and I could never do anything that I do now. And so I still get it occasionally, but yeah, that not good enough, wanting to prove them wrong.
And Michelle said your students are so blessed to have you.
Thank you.
But that's so true, is that like it really is either the patterning leads you to like prove them right, or it's leading you to prove them wrong. Because I'm the exact same way. I'm getting a PhD. And my theme was I am wrong, I am not smart. Like at every turn, and I get what I've been told by mentors is like I over explain stories. Like I have a tendency to over speak and over explain because I'm trying to prove to people that I'm not wrong, or I'm trying to prove to people that I'm smart. And when I was told that, I was like, oh, and I still catch it. Like I know the patterning, I still catch it. So it's huge. Like that patterning, knowing what that is, having that I am not statement is so incredibly important, because now it's so simple. I can remember in my head, okay, I am wrong, I'm not smart. Am I trying to prove this wrong? And is this coming from an ego? Like there's nothing wrong with achieving what any of us have achieved. And like there's nothing wrong with Megan going and proving them wrong and becoming a teacher and doing everything that people told you that you couldn't. There's nothing wrong with that. But what can happen is that we'll keep trying to prove that wrong, even if it's not in alignment with what our next step is, because we're so stuck in wanting to, I mean, we're back in that childhood self of feeling that feeling. Every time that triggers you, every time you're in a situation where that comes up, you're trying to prove from that childhood place of like, I am smart, like I'm not wrong. But sometimes there's a time and a place for that, because what we've all been through, the experiences that we've had, are what lead us to where we are. We're the wounded healers, essentially. You have these things that you overcome, and then you help to teach others. I mean, Megan, you're an amazing teacher because of what you went through. But the important part is to not let those patterns dictate our life, to recognize them and choose when we allow that to be something that motivates us, and to really have it be motivated from a sense of, this is actually what I want to be doing, and not from a sense of I have to do this in order to prove this pattern wrong or to prove it right. And Lauren said, wow, my memory makes so much sense. I'm curious what it is, Lauren. Isabella says, my memory just reflected my whole life actions, right? It gets to be like, you're just like, like, what did I just learn for, because you start to think back and like, there'll be actions you took and you're like, no, that's like, that can't be related to that. And then you're like, oh wait, no, that's related. Like, Michelle says, I do that same thing. I over-explain so much, and I feel now that it is coming from I am wrong, I am not important. This is so powerful. I'm so glad, Michelle. And what a powerful thing. I'm wrong, I'm not important. To like have that be your theme, and to have that be so, like, think about somebody else telling you you're wrong and you're not important. And that's what we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves that all the time. And that's what stops us from taking the risks. That's what stops us from taking action on the dreams that we have. It's what holds us back from sharing with others the medicine and the gifts that we have to give. And so it's so important to recognize those and to start to work through those. Diana said, it's funny, I just got a realization of a coping mechanism pattern based on that. I'm glad that that like revealed something like big, because it's so funny, like every time I do this exercise, there's something new that I realize. It's the same memory, but it's like this new thing that I, every time I'm like, oh, I've been doing that. I need to like reframe that. Um, I would love for you to share, Lauren, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I could share. So I was probably older than everybody here, like 7, 8, and I was playing Street Fighter. I know, it's a video game with my brother. He's 5 years younger, and we were playing, and it was early in the morning, and I could hear my parents yelling in the bedroom, and the door was closed, and I could hear them yelling, and I remember like getting a little more like nervous because like my brother was starting to notice, and I had that felt like that need to protect him. But the yelling was getting louder, and it sounded like things were being thrown. So I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like a laundry, hamper or what's happening. And I think because my brother was there, I like took like everything like mustard to like knock on the door and like slowly open it. And there was, remember, like clothes everywhere. And you know uh my dad was the one that was doing like the yelling. So I think I had said something like, can you please stop? And they just like looked at me weird, and I think he said something like close the door. and and I've always had this also need to protect my mom, since she was the one always being like sort of like verbally bullied and stuff. um, so I had mixed feelings. I felt good coming out. I think my older sister had woken up, and I think she said something like, you did good, and that felt good. But later my dad came out, and he like we went down to the basement, and he told me like basically like, what was that about? That's none of your business. And he was trying to convince me that it was just none of my business, that everything was fine. And so I had that moment of doubt, like, do I not stand up for myself? Is he saying that I'm wrong, where it's not none of my business, where to step in and I guess help and protect? you know am I began to question, I guess, my authority and position in life, and as well as feeling like inferior to somebody else, that being him. So with all that in with all that, it makes sense as to like, I'm very indecisive. I'm very quiet. Was school is really hard. Very shy, and I think that lack of control over the situation has brought about like the several like eating disorders, because you know how it's always about control and food. And so, and I think in regards to it being a positive is like, I'm trying to also prove myself wrong, that I'm better than that, like regarding like this dead end job, and then I can be more. And then I always want to help people and make people feel happy. So a part of me is driven for that, but again, it's like, but then it grabs me and like pulls me back to that place of fear, that 7-year-old.
Yeah. It sounds like that I am wrong. It sounds like I am wrong, I am not in control. Might be like that theme, and that truly, like when you were talking about being pulled back into that dead end job, or into that thing that that isn't serving you, it sounds like because if you think about it, to take that step into like having your own business or into serving others, there's this lack of control involved. And really, control is such a funny thing because we really don't have much control really
No.
other than what we are putting out into the, like, other than how we react to things, we really don't have control. Like that, it's really an illusion. But I've experienced eating disorder, like I've had that experience as well. And so I know that feeling of like being pulled back into that. And so I think as you move into, this is a really important pattern that you've realized, like truly, it's probably one of the most important things, because if that is your pattern, that I am not in control, that's one that really has to have your focus, because we don't have control. None of us do, which is terrifying for, like, as human beings, we want to have that control, especially we want to have that control over our security. And it takes a lot of work in order to let go of that and be okay with that control disappearing. But then having that, like letting go of that control, then opens you up to all of these other amazing opportunities that don't come out of having control, because we usually things that happen for us when we start to let go of that and we come back to ourselves are better than we could have ever imagined. But we've been trying to control the outcome, and that we can't even imagine what that outcome's going to be. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
you unveiled, like it's a huge pattern, and like it's something that I think in each of us, especially high achievers, like we've wanted that control, and so it's something we've tried to control the outcomes for our entire lives. And so now it's a lot of learning how to let go of that. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Lauren, because I think that that's huge for all of us.
Thank you for the exercise.
Absolutely. I was on, like, it was like I was just buzzing before this call because I was so excited to share it with you guys. Well, I want to step into another part of this webinar. It's just talking about, so now you have this awareness, like you have this awareness of your I ams and your I am nots, and that's key. Like the first step is really recognizing whatever that pattern is and being able to acknowledge that. And I think Isabella said it perfectly, like you could see it through your entire life, like how this is impacting you. And so knowing that now is huge. But in order to really move forward, you have to be able to work through those patterns. And that's something that I have been doing for literally 5 years, since I did an exercise similar to that. Your heart's going a mile a minute. Thank you so much for sharing, because I know that it can be really scary to, like, you're sharing something very vulnerable and also like in front of people. Like it feels very much like you're on a stage. So I really appreciate you sharing, Lauren. But that is the thing, like you can know your patterning and still fall back into it without tools to help you move forward. So I'm going to share with you the tools that I've developed in order to move you into the next step. And I'm going to share it. I have a little PowerPoint to just share with you guys that has some line graphs and some different things to really help you visualize it, because I can talk all day, but it helps to see things. So I'll share it with you. Let me pull it up. We want this one. Let me know if you can still hear me when I share this. Nope, it's asking for my password. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure. And can you see the presentation? Awesome, because I couldn't tell. So essentially, what I want to share with you guys is, I'm going to move this way so that I can see. I have two different screens. So I wanted to share with you guys the Purpose Development Accelerator. So it's 90 days to create lasting self-worth. And this is a program I've created to really synthesize what took me friggin' 5 years to work through and to get to that point of standing in your self-worth, knowing what you deserve, being confident that you know these patterns, you have the tools to be able to break those patterns, create new patterns that are serving you and moving you into that place of living the life you're actually worthy of, because we hold ourselves back into these places that are safe, but they aren't our full potential. And I always think about the fact that we only use like 10% of our brain. Imagine if you broke that pattern and that cycle, and then you were using these other pieces that you've held back because you learned this patterning at such a young age that you couldn't use it, that it wasn't safe to use it. And so now it's about breaking that and moving into what is actually safe to use. So I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about this program that I've put together that gives you that how am I actually going to break this and step into my true worth. So I call it the Purpose Development Accelerator, PDA, which I think is kind of cute because it's like you're giving yourself like PDA. I don't know. That's my thought on it. Let's see here. So the Purpose Development Accelerator, it's a unique program. So I utilize the research-based principles that I've developed through my PhD on purpose in life and really understanding how to develop your purpose, not find your purpose, but develop your purpose. And I also mix that with my spiritually minded practices because I really have delved into spiritually based practices like human design, which I will get into a little bit, to help you unearth what your purpose is. Human design is a reflection of who you innately are and offers a mirror for you. And so I utilize those practices to combine it with research in order to give you a well-rounded program. And so it's meant to help you own your self-worth so you can unearth your purpose in life and monetize your innate gifts. So to step into who you are, to realize why you're here, what's the impact that you're meant to make, and how can you then trade money for the energy that you give out to others, and to utilize your gifts, like to utilize your gifts as your medicine to bring out into this world and change people's lives. That's what this is about. So who benefits from this? Like who would actually benefit from doing this? So it's really whether you have a clear picture of your purpose in life or you're completely lost in the weeds and you're like, Corey, I have no idea. I have this idea and this idea and this idea, or you have no ideas at all and you're just like, I just don't want to be doing what I'm doing right now. This program reacquaints you with who you were born on this planet to be, like truly who you are at your core, why you're here. And it illuminates what blocks have been keeping you from living your dream life. And it's not blocks outside of yourself, it's that patterning, whatever that patterning is, and in the ways that maybe you are patterning yourself after other individuals who you see as role models, but have different ways of moving through this world. So human design reveals these different types of moving through the world. And the person who is like, maybe you've been told your whole life, just do it. Like it's the Nike slogan, just do it, just go after it. Not everybody's supposed to be that way. Like only one type in all of human design is supposed to just go after and initiate things. That's it. Or maybe you're told like you have to work, like you have to hustle, like you need to work all day, all night in order to create the life of your dreams. Well, only two types are supposed to do that. And then the other three are supposed to have large amounts of rest and only work a certain amount of time, but really be efficient and working after something that fulfills your goals. So the two very, like, the way that this works is reveal what your true path is, who you actually are at your innate being. And then let's work with that and let's optimize that and let's make that so that you can actually create your dreams authentically to you instead of living out a pattern that is somebody else's. So that is who benefits. So what do you actually receive in this program? So you have one introductory group session, and I'm focusing this on groups. I want you to have a community. I want you to have a group of people who hold you accountable to moving forward past these patterns, because it is so freaking hard to do it by yourself. Trust me, it took me 5 years, and I'm at this point, and I had to do it alone for the most part. I had a few mentors along the way, and once I got a community, only in this past year have I had a community. I've like skyrocketed because I've had a community of support and a mentor to show me the way and show me where I have blind spots. Because we all have blind spots that none of us know are the actual things that are holding us back, or that we're falling back into patterns. And we need somebody to be like, hey, lovingly, of course, but to say, hey, you're doing that thing again. And we need to find a new way of doing that. So I'm also going to provide 6 one-on-one coaching sessions. So you'll have just me and you. We'll talk through the patterns that came up for you. We'll talk about like, what is it that's going on in your life that you're here and you want to get to here. So let's build a bridge to where you want to get to, and we'll focus solely on what it is that you need individually and what tools you need individually to get you to that point. You'll have 3 group hot seat coaching sessions. So we'll be in a group like this, and we'll talk about like Lauren and Isabella mentioned some of hers. Michelle mentioned her I ams, I am nots. Diana talked about her story, and we'll really focus on like what's coming up for each of us and how are each of us experiencing things that are maybe similar, or to give different perspectives. Because I might see something that somebody else doesn't see, but one of you, like Megan told her story, and maybe Lauren sees something in what Megan has talked about that she might be able to offer some sort of guidance, or maybe something it just reflects, like we're all mirrors to each other. So you tell your story and then it reflects other people. So this is an opportunity to have a community that is working through these patterns at the same time as you, to really optimize your tools and give you the best feedback possible, and to be able to hold each other accountable and to have a group that you can be vulnerable with, because so many of us don't have that. And then 3 group trainings. So I want to also provide you with like tools I know work. So as a group, I'll do a training, one on awareness. So we'll bridge off of the visualization that we just did, maybe do it again just to really get in deep. We'll do a building foundations training that's all about, okay, you've got the awareness. You'll also in the awareness session have your human design, so you'll be able to talk about that. Build foundations. So how do I start to build what I need in order to make sure I don't fall back into those patterns, and to build that foundation of knowledge to help you get from point A to point B. And then maintenance tools. So you've built these strong foundations, you have the awareness. How do you maintain this over the like once you're done with these 90 days, how do you move forward and continue to be able to be like, okay, that's a pattern that's coming back up. Let's break that. Let's rework that so that I can move forward, and this doesn't keep me stagnant here for the next 2 months or the next week or however long it is, because time really is what matters. And then in total, you're getting 13 sessions, one-on-ones, group training, plus you'll get a 15-page personalized human design report. So I go in, I look up your chart, I synthesize the information from that chart, what type you are, basics on like how you move through the world, what your gifts are, what kind of package that might be coming in. There's all of this information that I'll synthesize for you into that 15-page report, so that you're able to talk about that with me, and we can talk about, okay, this is what I'm seeing. So I've been living my life this whole way up until this point. How do I reframe to actually be living based on my intuition and my type? And that will look different for everybody because there's so many different combinations. So it's really actually exciting to see how you move through the world because it's all different. It's so cool. It's so cool, guys. So I'm gonna give you guys a testimonial real quick.
Hello, my name is Jules Lazavai, and I took a course with Corey. These 2 months flew by. I didn't even notice how time flew. She is really good. She helped me a lot to understand where I'm lacking of my confidence, where I should work more. It was really amazing because like when I start courses, I didn't have a clue. Like I have a lot of self-doubt in my business and just in myself. And when I start having sessions with Corey, we start looking into the like key points, and especially when she did the human design for me, it was amazing information. Like I didn't know who I am till that time, and it was really, really helpful to realize like how as a human I work. I want to say a big thank you for Corey because she was really supportive. She was really supportive through all the course, no matter what mood I was in, like crying or be super happy. She was always supportive. She was always find the right words and the right exercises for me to practice. I highly recommended to try her courses. I feel right now I still have a little fear because I still need to work and practice the exercises that Corey gave me, but I'm totally on the better mind track, less self-doubt and more confidence. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was Jules, and I love Jules, and she was such a sweet human being. And I asked her what she would say to somebody who is interested in the course, and she said, "Do it and don't even think about it." And I was like, "Thanks, Jules, appreciate it." But I have a few other testimonials. I'm going to breeze through them because I know that I'm over a little bit in your time, and I want to be courteous of your time. But I also wanted to hear your experiences with the visualization, so I apologize. I will breeze through here so that I don't keep you guys too much longer. But let me move through. This was Galatea. Galatea and I actually met a year ago, and I have worked with her over the past year. And so I'll be sending out the replay. So if you want to pause it and read Galatea's testimonial, feel free to do so. I also have one from Carly, who is actually on this call right now, who we've talked endlessly about what's going on in her life and how to get her from where she is to where she wants to go. And she's just been amazing. So I wanted to share these with you guys, but I don't want to take the time to read through all of them because I really want to be courteous of your time. So why now? Exactly why I am breezing through the testimonials, because you can never get time back. You can get anything that you invest, money, whatever, you can get that all back. You can earn it back, flows back in, but you can't get your time back. And the thing is, it took me 5 years, 5 friggin' years of my life to get to this point where I actually feel like I am worthy of the life that I am desiring to live. And I want to give you guys just an idea of that timeline, what that looks like. Because year 1 was like, wow, like I just done my yoga teacher training. And this is like what I'm seeing in so many people is, wow, I learned so much about myself. I'm a new woman. Awesome, sweet. Like you're climbing the uphill. And then you hit this point and something happens in your life and you're still living in those patterns and you fall back into them, you're pulled back in. And it's like, I'm completely lost. How did I get here? And then you move into the next year and you move up a little bit and you're like, oh, all right, I'm starting to see some light, but it's still a little foggy. I'm not quite clear on what my purpose is or what I'm meant to be doing, but I feel a little bit better than last year. So you're moving back up. And then you find a community and a mentor that helps you hold you accountable for your growth. You start to have somebody who pushes you. And then you just skyrocket, and I can see clearly, can see clearly now the rain is gone. Like, it's not foggy anymore. I'm starting to get clarity and moving up. But it takes 5 years or more. There are so many people in this world who are just riding this wave of, I'm feeling really good, everything sucks. Up, down, and that's life. Like that, you never get progress because you keep being pulled back into those patterns. And so this is what happens. Like, and if you don't find that community, you don't find that mentor, you're not holding somebody's not holding you accountable. Every book you read about somebody who is like succeeding had somebody who was helping them along the way. And so what's so important about this is that your new timeline, where you find a community or a mentor that helps hold you accountable for growth now, then you've got 3 months, 90 days. You create awareness, you get your personalized human design report as a mirror for who you were born to be. Month 2, you build a lasting foundation. You learn how to consistently break that pattern that's revealed in month 1. And then you have maintenance tools. So you fill your toolbox on how to make this new version last. 3 months, not 5 years. And you continue to have this mentor and this community. You know who to go to now. You have somebody who's pushing you to be better than you were the day before, and who's holding you. Like, I can't stop doing what I'm doing. I have people who are looking to me now, who are looking to me and saying, like, have you grown? Like, have you moved, like, from here to here? And so that's what's so important about this, is having that mentorship and that community of support, because you start to move up. Maybe you go down again, because we all get pulled back into our patterns. It's not perfect. We all have moments where we get pulled back in, but you have people that then, like, you talk about what's pulled you back in, and you skyrocket back up because you have people who are helping you along that path. So it's saving so much time. Like, 5 years of my life, if I had 3 months to just do the work and, like, understand what was holding me back, I can't even imagine how different my life, not that I would change anything in my life because everything got me here, but this can change the way that everything unfolds. So how do you actually gain access to this and start to move forward with this? I qualify everybody that I work with a free clarity session. So I do a half an hour clarity session, and I talk with you about where you are right now, what's holding you back, why do you feel lost, why do you feel like you don't know the next step to take, and then we talk about where you want to go and what's happening in your life, where you want to move to, and then we talk about how to bridge that gap. And if this program is what would help bridge it, I talk to you about this program. If it's not, I refer you to somebody I know that could better help you, better assist you, or refer you to something to get you ready for this. And so this is the best way to do that. I will put the link for that in our comments section for you guys to have access. I don't know if I can comment while I'm in screen share, so that might be a little bit of a mess, but can I can. Cool. So that I will put in there for you guys. And why I'm putting it in there is because I care so much about time, and I care so much about not wasting time. The deadline is coming up. So I'm booking all my clarity sessions between now and Friday. So you have between now and Friday to book a clarity session with me. PDA signups for the Purpose Development Accelerator will close next Wednesday. So 1 week from today, they will be closed. I will not accept anybody after that date. PDA starts August 6th. So I turn it around real quick because I don't want to waste your time. And I don't want to waste another month of you just in this place of feeling lost and feeling foggy, because I want you to get to that point of having complete clarity. So that is the timeline. And There are only 6 spots in this program. I do this because it's highly individualized. I work with you one-on-one so many times over the course of those 3 months. And you have a built-in community, and I want you to have this smaller group that you can network with, have as a community of support. And I expect you to get to know each other and hold each other accountable. And so space is limited because I want this to be an intimate group. It's smaller than it even is like here, because I want it to be us talking about things that can be challenging. And in a larger group, some people tend to get quiet, and I don't want that. I want you to feel comfortable to talk about what's going on. So the other thing is that I had mentioned that there is a giveaway from this call. So I will be taking all of the names of everybody who came to the live, which actually I need to make a list because I didn't register everybody through the Zoom. So I need to type that up before everybody leaves. So I'm sorry to hold you a little bit longer, but I want to make sure that you all have access to this. So if you don't already follow me on Instagram, go to my Instagram. It's at Corey A. Russin. And I'll announce the winner in my Instagram story tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're following me, I'll tag you. If you are the winner, I'm going to be putting everybody into a random name generator and putting it up there. But what you're going to win is the book that literally changed the way that I think about business and everything. And it's called U Squared. And it's a small book, so if you don't like reading, it's very short. It's very powerful. It's a high velocity formula for multiplying your personal effectiveness in quantum leaps. It's all about going from where you are right now to where you want to be in a fraction of the time that people think that it takes you to get there. And it is incredible. So I am going to hold you on for like 2 seconds so that I can take down everybody's names so that I have you all. But before I do that, I wanted to just say thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself, because we need you to really be standing in your true full state of worthiness so that we can experience your gifts, because there are people who need you to change their lives in whatever way that is going to be your way, your unique way of providing your gifts. But we need you. And so I really appreciate you all for coming here, showing up, giving me over an hour of your time and spending this with me. So thank you all for doing this. And you're welcome, Diana. I would always make time for this. Thank you, all of you. I'm going to type down all of your names really, really quickly so that I'm going to go out of this so that I have all of you and I can make sure you get your present if you win. Isabella. Both Michelle's. Got Carly, got Megan, Alyssa, Lauren, Wisdom, and I think that I got everybody. Okay, cool. Thank you guys so very much. And oh, Carly says pull my name. Carly, if you win, I will find a new book for you. So I want everybody to have access to the giveaway. I have a secondary book that if you already have this book, I will give you the new book, Buddha and the Badass, because that's also, I've just started reading it and I want to give it away already because it's incredible. So if you don't win, that's a good one. But I love you all so very much. So thank you for showing up and being here and being present in the visualization. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye, guys.